let's talk about something that can drive pretty much everyone. Friends, family, your boss, absolutely up the wall, being chronically late. It's the super common and, let's be honest, deeply frustrating thing, both for the person who's waiting and, you'd be surprised, for the person who just can't seem to get anywhere on time. So I want you to think for a second. When I say the person who's always late, who pops into your head? Is it your buddy who texts "on my way" when you know for a fact they are still in the shower? Or maybe it's that coworker who slides into every meeting 10 minutes late, blaming some kind of once-in-a-lifetime traffic jam that somehow happens to them every day. Or maybe, just maybe, you're realizing that person is you. You see, for those of us waiting, it's really easy to take lateness personally. It just feels disrespectful, right? Like you're unreliable or even lazy. But what's so fascinating is the huge gap between how it looks on the outside and what's happening on the inside. Because if you're the one who's always running behind, you probably hate it. You're likely drowning in guilt, anxiety, and just this wave of shame every single time you realize, oh man, I did it again. So for today, we're gonna press pause on all that judgment. We're gonna pop the hood on the human brain and really understand the deep psychological and even neurological reasons why some people seem completely incapable of being on time. And listen, this isn't about making excuses, it's about finding real science-backed explanations so we can get to some real solutions. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're gonna see why this is so much more than just a bad habit. Then we'll dive into your brain's own personal time warp and see how it actually messes with your perception of time. After that, we'll look at the wild idea that you might be addicted to the last-minute rush, and we'll unpack the science of distraction. And then, the best part, we'll get into some real, concrete strategies to completely rewire your relationship with time. All right, let's get into it. Part 1, this is more than a bad habit. So why is being late such a ridiculously stubborn problem? Well, it's because it's not just some simple habit you can decide to break. For a lot of people, it's a self-perpetuating cycle, and it has some pretty serious consequences. And I mean, these consequences, they're everywhere. At work, it doesn't matter how amazing your work is. If you're always late, it just screams unreliable. Socially, it puts a huge strain on friendships because even if you don't mean it to, it sends this unspoken message that your time is more valuable than theirs. And internally, for the person themselves, life just becomes this state of constant low-grade panic. You're always racing against the clock. You know, this pattern is so common that some psychologists have even jokingly called it Lateness chronicus. Now, obviously, that's not a real diagnosis in a medical book, but it perfectly captures the issue, right? For some folks, being late isn't the occasional accident, it's the default setting. The real problem is this fundamental breakdown between what you intend to do and what you actually do. You want to be on time, you really do, but something in your brain just seems to sabotage the plan every single time. And that leads us perfectly into our second section, your brain's time warp. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty science of what's actually going on inside the brain of someone who's always late. And it usually starts with a little cognitive glitch that just makes you a terrible judge of time. This glitch is called the planning fallacy. It's this weird human tendency to massively underestimate how long something will take, even when you have tons of past experience telling you it takes longer. People who are always late are often what you could call time optimists. Their brain automatically defaults to the absolute best case scenario. If Google Maps says the drive is 20 minutes, they hear 20 minutes exactly, completely ignoring the very real possibility of traffic, or finding parking, or, just walking from the car to the front door. And get this, it's not just about being optimistic. It might be about how you literally perceive time passing. There was this amazing study that looked at how different personality types experience a minute. They asked people to guess when 1 minute had passed. The punctual, so-called type A personalities, they guessed at around 58 seconds, pretty spot on. But the more relaxed type B personalities, who are often the late ones, they let the clock run all the way to 77 seconds before they said stop. Think about that. Their internal clock is literally running almost 20% slower. If your brain thinks a minute is 77 seconds long, you are basically hardwired to be late. But wait, it gets even more complicated. For our next section, we're going to look at another incredibly powerful driver. Some people are, without even realizing it, kind of addicted to the rush of being late. It's all thanks to a powerful chemical loop happening inside the brain. Okay, let me walk you through this chemical cocktail. Step 1, the alarm bell goes off in your head. Oh my God, I'm going to be late. This triggers a stress response, flooding your system with adrenaline. Step 2, you hit the rush phase. You're scrambling, but you're also suddenly laser focused. Step 3, somehow, you pull it off. You arrive breathless just in the nick of time. And here's the kicker. Step 4, your brain gives you a huge reward for this chaos, a hit of dopamine, that feel-good chemical, for the sweet relief of, whew, I made it. Your brain starts to crave this whole cycle, which makes the calm, boring, responsible act of being early feel, well, totally unmotivated. So we've got a warped sense of time and maybe even a subconscious addiction to stress. The final piece of this puzzle is the science of distraction. This is all about your brain's CEO, the prefrontal cortex, and how it handles planning and focus. So yeah, think of your prefrontal cortex as the chief executive officer of your brain. It's the part in charge of all the really high-level skills we call executive functions. Things like planning out your day, organizing tasks, managing your time, and knowing when to shift your focus. Well, for a lot of people who are chronically late, this CEO is, let's just say, not always at their desk. And this leads to what we could call the one last thing syndrome. Let's take Sarah here. She's all ready to go, 10 whole minutes to spare before she has to leave for work. A punctual person might just relax, maybe check their phone, but Sarah's brain sees those 10 minutes as a golden opportunity. She thinks, you know what? I have just enough time to quickly empty the dishwasher. But then that one thing leads to wiping the counter, which leads to taking out the trash, and bam, suddenly she's 5 minutes late. Her brain struggles to prioritize the main goal, leaving on time, over these smaller, less important tasks that pop up. Or how about this classic example, the social math failure? Rahul is supposed to meet his friends at 7. He knows the drive is 30 minutes, so he plans to leave at 6:30. Simple math, right? Wrong. He completely forgot to budget any time for the stuff before leaving. You know, the 15 minutes to shower and iron his shirt. He also didn't account for what I call transition time, finding a parking spot, a bit of traffic. He's totally focused on the arrival time, 7, instead of the real deadline, which is his departure time. And because of that, his simple maths totally fails and he shows up 20 minutes late. Okay, so we've looked at the problem from all these different angles. The brain's time warp, the adrenaline addiction, the distracted CEO. Now for the most important part, how in the world do we fix it? In our last section, we're gonna cover 4 real, actionable strategies you can use to start rewiring your relationship with time. Strategy number 1, you have to stop trusting your own time estimates. Period. Your internal clock is broken, so you need a new external rule. I call it the buffer strategy. Whatever you think a task or a trip is going to take, I want you to add 25 to 50% more time. If you think the drive is 20 minutes, you plan for 30. If you think getting ready takes 30 minutes, you budget 45. You have to build a buffer for reality, not for your brain's sunny, best-case scenario fantasy. Strategy number 2 is a huge mental shift. You have to stop focusing on your arrival time. That's for people who are already good at this. Your new sacred, non-negotiable deadline is the doorway time, the exact moment your feet must be walking out the front door. So if you need to be somewhere at 9 and it takes a buffered 30 minutes to get there, then 9 o'clock is meaningless to you. 8:30, that is your new 0 hour. That's the only time that matters. Strategy 3 is all about helping out that distracted brain. You need to reduce the amount of work your brain's CEO has to do, especially in the morning when it's still groggy. How? By making as many decisions as you can the night before. Lay out your entire outfit. I'm talking down to the socks. Pack your bag for work or school, put your keys, your wallet, your phone, all in the exact same spot by the door every single night. Make your lunch. What you're doing is you're outsourcing all the hard thinking to your more rested night before self. And the final strategy is to completely reframe what it means to be early. A lot of late people dread the idea of waiting. They see it as wasted, awkward time. You have to flip that script. Being early is not wasted time. It's a reward. It's bonus luxury time. Bring a book, save your favorite podcast for those 10 minutes. It is a moment of peace where nobody needs anything from you. You have to train your brain to see being early as a pleasure, not a punishment. So if there's one thing you take away from this, it's this. If you struggle with chronic lateness, you've got to stop calling yourself lazy or selfish or broken. You're not. You are dealing with very real, very powerful psychological patterns. Whether it's a brain that literally perceives time differently, a subconscious craving for an adrenaline rush, or real challenges with your brain's executive functions. And this is the most hopeful, amazing part. Your brain is not set in stone. Thanks to this incredible thing called neuroplasticity, it can and it does change throughout your entire life. By consciously, deliberately using these strategies, building in buffers, focusing on that doorway time, prepping the night before, you can literally build new roads, new pathways in your brain. You absolutely can break the cycle. Just imagine a life without all that constant rushing, the stress, the apologizing. It is totally possible. So I'll leave you with one final question to think about. What is your most common reason for being late? Is it that one last thing syndrome? Is it always underestimating traffic? Do you just get lost in what you're doing? Figuring out your specific pattern is the very first step to changing it for good. Thanks for tuning in.